Hello and welcome back to this tutorial. In our previous video, we learned how to group our data. So let's take for instance that we have two data frames that has similar fields and we want to merge those two data frames so that we won't be repeating them, right? So we can use Pandas to merge those two data frames and we are going to achieve that by using three different methods. So we are going to use the merge method, we are going to use the concat method, and we are going to use the join method. Okay, now first and foremost, I am going to move this data frame down here, right? So we have this data frame that we created initially. So I am going to move it down here so that we can work with this directly. And I'm going to comment this out. So now I'm going to move this down here and I'm going to call this data frame 1. So this is going to be the first data frame we are going to be working with. And I'm going to create another data frame, okay, that has another type of data. So I have this data that I already copied. So I'm just going to create a data frame with that. So I'm going to call it data2. So I'm going to set it to this object that contains a list of dictionary. So you can see this is a data frame, a different data frame altogether. So what I can do now is that I can come to this particular first data frame and add another field, okay, so that they will have something in common, because as you can see we have a column for name, a column for age, gender, and country, and here we have month, sales, and the marketing spend, then we have ID. So I'm going to create another column for ID here. I'm going to type in my ID and I'll set it to a list. So I'm just, since IDs here are integer, I'm going to just give it a list of 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we have 3 items on this, and I'm going to also fill this in. So I'm going to call this joy. Now we have our two data, and the next thing I'm going to do is to convert this data to a data frame. So I'm going to remove one of this. Sorry about that. And just like we did for the first data, I'm going to create another data frame. So the F2 is equals pandas dot data frame. Then I'm going to pass in this second data that we have here. So I'm going to pass in data2. Now we have two different data frames, and if we print them individually, we are going to see that they are two different data frames. So I'm going to write a print statement here. And what do I want to print? The F1 and the F2. Okay, so I believe that's our data frame 1. So now we have two different data frames here. One has the name, age, gender, and country. So this other column is continuing from this line. So you have the months, the sales, and this is because we have the indexes on the side. So it kind of pushed the column row to the side. All right. So we have the month, sales, and marketing ID. So let's say, for instance, I want to merge these two data frames. They have one column in common, and that is the ID. Okay, so how am I going to achieve that? Like I said, we are going to be using three different methods. So we are going to go in with the first method. So I'm going to call it joined. So I'm going to do the joining on this variable. So the first one, I'm going to merge the data frame. So how do we do that? We are going to use pandas to merge it. So pd.merge, and this merge is going to take in 3 to 4 arguments. Okay, so the first two arguments are the names of the data frames that we want to merge, and then the third argument is going to be on what column are we merging them, and then the next argument is how are we merging them. All right, so which of the data do we want to show? Is it the ones that are in data frame 1 and are not in data frame 2, or the ones that are in data frame 2 but are not in data frame 1? So I'm going to pass in, well, I want to merge data frame 1 and data frame 2, so that df2, and I'm going to say on and set it to a string, and I'll pass in ID. So the column that is common to the two of them is the ID column. And for now, I'm going to print. Joined. So I will remove this and I'll type in this variable, and then we should see our output. So now we have only 3 rows, because it's only this first data frame has only 3 IDs. So the only IDs that are common to all of them are ID 1 to ID 3, right? So now I'm going to pass in the third argument, and I'm going to say how. So now this how parameter is by default in inner. So, and this inner simply means that you should give me the items that are common to both of them, right? So, and that is what we have here. So if we run this again, we will get the same result. So now, if I say outer, I'm going to get the both the ones that are common and the ones that are not in both of them. All right. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to create one more item here and set the ID to something that is not here. So from here, we have IDs 1 to 10. So I'm going to set the fourth item I'm adding here to ID 11, and we don't have ID 11 here. So, and I'm going to create another person here. So I'm going to call the person Faith, and I'm going to give that person a gender. So I'll give the person female again, and I'll give the person a country. So I could give the person Kenya again, and I'm going to print this now. So now that I've said outer, I'm going to print it. Okay, so we are having an error because of these indexes here. All right, so we are creating something that is far, far beyond this index ABC. So I'm going to remove this index, and we are going to print that again. Okay, so there's another error. So, and it's saying that all arrays must be of the same length. So that means this particular age, we have only 3 items here. So I'm going to pass in another value that will be the age of the last person. So, and I'm going to clear this. Now, on running this again, we should have everything sorted out. So if you look at what we have here, we have the IDs of 1 to 11, right? And there are items on IDs 1 to IDs 3. Then from 4 to 10, on the left hand side, we are seeing that there are no values there. Then on the 11th value, on the right hand side, there are no values there. So this simply tells you that it will give you all the data frames with the ones that do not have any values, right? And that is what the outer will do for you. Okay, so we can also change it to left and to right. So when we say left, we get only the items that are common and then also the items that are on the left. So if we change it to the right, we have the same thing. So we have only the items that are on the right. So as you can see, ID 11 is not here. So now the next method we are going to use is the concat method. So instead of merge, we are going to use concat. And how are we going to do this? Well, in this case, we are going to pass in the two data frames as a list. So I'm going to create a list, and I'm going to pass in df1 and then df2. Then outside the list, I'm going to pass in another parameter called axis, and we are going to learn what that will do for us in a minute. So for now, I'm going to pass in 0, and this axis parameter takes two values. It takes either 0 or 1. So I'm going to print this, and as you can see, we have the first data frame on the left hand side and the other one on the right hand side. So we only have the IDs here. Okay, so if we now say ID that the axis should be 1, we are going to have them stacked on top of each other. So one is vertical and one is horizontal merging. All right, so on the 0 we are merging it on the x axis, and when we are working and when the value is 1, we are merging on the y axis. So I hope we understand this. And the next method we are going to be looking at is the join method. And how are we going to work with this? Well, we are going to take one data frame and join it to another data frame. So I'm going to call the data frame 1, and then I'll call the join method, and then passing the data frame that I want to join. I want to join it with data frame 2, and then I'm going to also pass in the how parameter, and I'm going to say that I want it to be inner. Okay, and there's another argument we are going to pass, and that is the suffix. So I'm going to write my comma. So I'm going to pass in the L suffix and set it to, well, a string or value left with an underscore. And I'm going to print this value now. So it's just the same thing as using the merge method. The two values are now printed for us because you are using inner, so you can as well do the outer, and the values are going to come out the same, just like we did with the merge method. So that is it for joining your data with pandas. So I hope you understood this video very well. So thank you so much for watching this video and see you in the next one.